Hello there, my fellow based MFs. I will take you on a short tour of my hometown of Kielce, Poland. So, let's go. We began here at the statue of famous Polish Nobel-prize winning writer and novelist Henryk Sienkiewicz, who was also a traveler, a globetrotter, and a great proponent of Western suprematism. He wrote in the latter half of the 19th century, in the beginning of the 20th century, and he is most famous for his Nobel Prize winning novel Quo Vadis, or Quo Vadis, about the late Roman Empire and the rise of Christianity. This is a great testament to the power of Western civilization, and there was also a movie adaptation of that novel starring the evil lizard Wojciech. But I would recommend also an adventure novel in the desert and wilderness, which is about two kids getting kidnapped in the British occupied Egypt by Arabs and taken deep into the African continent during the uprising of the Mahdi. So it's a quite interesting novel because it also showcases the supreme power of Western civilization and the Western way of life about the third world, so to speak. So yeah, Henryk Sienkiewicz, he was a really great guy. But he has no connection to Kielce whatsoever, so this statue here is actually kind of non sequitur. So let's go down the Sienkiewicza street. Yes, the street named after Henryk Sienkiewicz. You guessed it right. This is the main street of Kielce. Kielce is growing smaller. Currently it has less than 200,000 inhabitants, mostly students, but not quite. It doesn't have any particularly well-established industrial base. It's a very poor city, one of the poorest in Poland when we're talking about provincial capitals. So there's nothing really to see, not much to see. But we may perhaps witness some interesting architecture. Despite being a Catholic country and Catholic city, the first church we see is an evangelical church. Yeah, quite interesting church. And we're going down the Sienkiewicza street to see some well-renovated housing and town houses. This part of Poland was under occupation of the Russian Empire since 1795 up until 1918. So most of this architecture is heavily influenced by this style in this particular part of Poland occupied by Russia. So you see this characteristic windows and facades. Here we're approaching the Literati Plaza. Yes, a square devoted to Polish writers. This was built around 1950, and here we have a great Polish Renaissance writer, Jan Kochanowski, the greatest Polish poet of the Renaissance period. Here we have another guy from the same period. Where is? Yeah, Nicholas Ray, the first who started writing in Polish. So he is in fact the founder of literary Polish language. Here we have Henryk Sienkiewicz again, who has no connection with Kielce. And here is the guy who's the most connected to Kielce, Stefan Żeromski, writer latter half of the 19th century, early 20th century. He wrote about Kielce, he called Kielce clerical town. So yeah, he's the most famous writer from this particular city. But I don't recommend his works at all. He was a complete altruist. Absolute lunacy. Let's see some architecture. This part of town is heavily renovated because it is a representative part of town. Now let us stop for a moment and look into the distance. At the end of this street there is the railway station, which has been lately demolished and erected anew. Now we are approaching the Kielce Cathedral, the main focal point of this city. The city was built around this cathedral. It's in the romanesque style, built around 1200 BC, I mean AD. And next to the cathedral we will soon see the main tourist attraction when it comes to art and architecture. The Bishop's Palace. The Bishop's Palace, built by Krakow bishops as their summer residence, because Kielce used to be owned by bishops, by Krakow bishops, and they used Kielce as a summer residence. That's this building there, Bishop's Palace. It's a museum now. Very interesting, baroque, I guess, rococo style. I don't know. Let's take a look at the cathedral. Here's the bell tower. And the cathedral. This is the holiest Saint Mary Plaza or something like this. And there's the rest of the town, of the old town. There, at the end of this street, we can see the main city square, Rynek. So, the place where the magistrate lies, and in which beer gardens are set up for the tourists and other people who want to take a leisure on this summer day. We shall see how it looks today. Yeah, the main city square. A lot of people, some sort of organized groups who came here as tourists. This is how it looked around 19th century, because this is when the city square actually formed. So a lot of 19th century architecture. Here's the town hall. It looks busy, but it's Saturday. On a normal day, it's almost empty. At this point, at this stage of the day, it may become more busy during the evening. All right, let's go and see some other stuff. Here is the backside of the town hall, which is also an entry, and here is a huge car park. And here we can see the headquarters of the Social Security Authority. An evil, evil place. Yes, a very oppressive place. And we're back on the main street. Here is so-called the Artists' Plaza, a completely worthless piece of real estate. I mean, there used to be a pond, some trees, an orchard, but now it's just all concrete, serving no purpose except for some public events. But who needs them? There's a park, so maybe we'll visit park. So we're in the park now. Remember, I used to work here, serving my sentence of forced labor, 6 months of forced labor, in the park, cleaning it up. The park is huge. I mean, not as huge as in bigger cities, but it goes on and on. Here is the wall of the palace. Here you can sit on the benches and do nothing all day. Some people like it. Alright, and we are near the city pond. Here is the fountainhead of the pond water. Some old dilapidated buildings. And here's the pond. I used to work the pond too during my sentence. It's quite filthy, especially during summer, because of all the pollen dropping down on it and polluting it. Pollen polluting sounds logical. Let's see, these aquatic birds, ducks. They are a real menace. They will hunt for food. They will harass you and accost you just to give them some food. There's the park, the rest of the park. But there's nothing interesting there, so we won't be going there. I think we're going to go up the Castle Street to reach the Castle Hill. This is a street, the Castle Street, part of the old, very old town. And it leads upwards towards the Castle Hill, upon which the palace, the Bishop's Palace, is located. Some galleries, stuff which is not particularly interesting for ordinary people. The Hammond Museum. This is an interesting place. These are the remnants of the old fortifications. And the old prison since the days of the Russian Tsar. But it used to serve as a prison during the Nazi occupation and the early Soviet occupation. And here we are, the Castle Hill. Oh, here's a nice place. There's a 37mm anti-aircraft gun made by the Soviet Union. It's just a museum piece. Some sort of a center for patriotic and citizens' thought. Here at the top of the Castle Hill, we can see the rest of the city. Let me get through this gate, and we will see the Italian gardens of the Bishop's Palace. One last look at the cathedral. Yeah, and here we are going to see the Italian garden at the courtyard of the Bishop's Palace. Right. Not very monumental nor impressive, this garden. No flowers. But we can see the skyline of the rest of the city. Look there. The St. Cross Church. The biggest one in Kielce. Nothing remarkable. Let us marvel at this jewel of the baroque architecture. So already this video is getting too long, so I'll be finishing it here. If you would like some more information about Kielce, then I may do another video, but I guess that's all you need to know.